It's Tracy, and so I think she was in my Introduction to Humanities class in 2000. And she became interested in ideas, you know. And there came a point where she said, I want to leave my husband. I want to divorce and just pursue ideas. And because of my cultural background, and because I had training with Hussein, and because I had seen how he would function when someone would become profoundly intoxicated by ideas, to the point that relationships would suffer some friction. Oh, don't sit there, sit here. You know, at my age, I can't just go like this. Like, my neck would fall off. You good? You well? Yes. Your name is Alexis? That's Alexis. Maybe you guys should have coffee after class. I know, how awful. Yeah.
Myself once in a while.
And so what? Yeah. And so what happens is you become intoxicated with ideas, and whenever you become pregnant, in other words, when there's a good amount of pressure inside you, very much like peeing, you want to express it outwardly. And so you begin to share what lives inside you with the closest people to you, okay? So you want to share them with your daughter, you want to share them with your husband, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your parents, whatever the case may be. Only to realize that, first, you don't really understand what's living inside you too well, so your expression comes out all jumbled up. You have zero understanding. You begin to fumble all the time. The other person, who's your audience, trying to figure out what the hell is going on with you, what's wrong with you. They kind of feel exhausted because they tried, they can't get it. You feel also exhausted because you can't express it well, and even if you can, the other person can't really get it. And so while you are in the relationship, you feel as if you're becoming far more intimate. You have a better relationship with ideas than you do with your companion. And then every time you go home, you know what's waiting for you, which is you're going to feel profoundly alone. And it's not a healthy aloneness, it's like poisonous, where you keep relentlessly asking yourself, why am I here? You know, why do I want to talk to this guy or this gal if they don't really understand me? Why do I even want to pursue these ideas if the only thing they're doing is tormenting me? But once you've taken the bait, you know, once the ideas now begin to live inside you, kind of like if you're sick, you know, you realize that in as much as you want health, it's not going to be given to you as easily, especially if the illness happens to be serious. And I'm sure that deep down there is a struggle. I want to go back to my old life and look at my companion and feel the same way I've always felt about him, which is I like him, I love him. It's a great relationship. But you realize you've reached a point of no return. In as much as you want to go back, you've been infected, you know. And so as your relationship with ideas become more and more intimate, you become less and less intimate with the people in your life. And every time you find yourself in that space, you feel profoundly alone. And that makes you very, very, very angry because you don't know why you're there. You want to leave, you can't. You want to stay, you can't. So in Persian, we say, "Chuba do sargohi," like you have a stick. One end of the stick has been dipped in shit. The other end of the stick has also been dipped in shit. And so you want to go here, it smells. You want to go here, it smells. And there is no place that can hold you, you know. And so she came and she said to me, I think I'm just going to divorce. Now, again, knowing how my teacher would deal with this stuff and having some infantile experiences of my own, I said to her, listen, your relationship with ideas are going to last for about, and since you're a Westerner, about 15 to 20 years. That's how it's going to be. This particular addiction is about 15, 20 years, and it's going to be awful. But you will survive it. And so what used to happen, she used to come to our house. She lived in Grass Valley, which is almost 3 hours away. She used to come to Oakland and stay here 4 days out of the week. 4 days. That's the only way she could cope with the fragmentation, with the hatred of her life. Part of it had to do, of course, with the disability that her daughter was suffering from. After 20 years, a good amount of exposure, something interesting happened. She was no longer 49. She was now close to 70. And then she suffered another breaking point. My body can't do the drive. I used to be very interested. I'm no longer that interested because your physical body all of a sudden comes into play. You know, if for the longest time you were thinking about your relationship with your companion, now when you're diagnosed with cancer, most of your attention now goes into your own self, my body, my this, my that, okay? And so as you age, you become a bit more selfish for all the right reasons, because you understand your limitations, you understand your capacities, what you can and can't do. Because when you're young, you suffer from a good amount of illusions. And you can do all sorts of things. You can carry 50 units, have 25 boyfriends, have 50 jobs, you know, and travel like 50 hours a day here and there. As you get a little older, reality kind of slaps you a few times. And then you begin to kind of understand your limitations. Life begins to educate you. And so, despite suffering 20 years of aloneness, there came a point she called me and she says, I don't want to come there anymore. I'm too tired. I'm done with these ideas. And what was nice about her position is that they had money. They bought a beautiful house. And she gardens every day, I suppose. I haven't talked to her for about 2 years almost. That doesn't really answer your question. So let me give it to you this other way. And it's a bit more philosophical. Do you have any questions? You're wondering, what the hell is this?
I was getting with you for it.
Yeah. I had a feel for my first wife. 10 years later, I realized it was a wrong decision. It was a good feeling, though. And then I divorced, and I had this beautiful feeling for my second wife. That didn't go too well either. Hey, Tracy.
The restaurant.
Oh, absolutely. Are you kidding? Sometimes there are certain things that you know about yourself really, 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 really well. Let me give an example. Imagine I went to the doctor today just for a routine checkup, and he or she, I have a she doctor. She's really cute. I mean, she's married with 2 kids, but still, she's very cute. And I've been waiting for her to tell me, undress so I can like thoroughly examine you, but that day hasn't come yet. Sorry. Forgive me. I know you're new. This is like X-rated. And so, she tells me, Amir, we've done the tests. I have some news. Yes. You have cancer. Okay. It comes as a shock, especially for someone, if you haven't really thought about your own mortality, youth, time, energy, life, that shit happens and it doesn't knock on the door, it just breaks down the door and comes in and says, here I am. So some people, if they are intellectually educated, and by that I don't mean that they've gone to school, like they have lived in poverty. They know what poverty does. Life educates you. So even though you become rich and you buy a mansion, you always know that poverty awaits you. It's something that my mom always says to me, used to say, not anymore. They came here with about $30,000. They bought a car wash. And once in a while, my mom would call me and say, the car wash is not doing well. She said, Mom, it's okay, don't worry. And then she would catch herself saying, son, even if the car wash goes bad and we go bankrupt, we came from Iran, we had nothing, we'll just go back to having nothing. It's okay, we're used to it. So that's when you're prepared. You have seen enough of life, you have seen your own interaction with life where you say to yourself, things can happen at any time. Let's say I'm one of those fellows where I am dim-witted, I'm just stupid and callous and a complete idiot. Very much like all young people, I imagine, I'm never going to die, I'm never going to get sick, I'm never going to get old, all of those things. So the doctor tells me, I know you have cancer. So that's a shock. I say, okay, doc, what's the remedy? And she says, Amir, this is not stage 1, it's not stage 2, and it's not stage 3, it's stage 4. The truth is you have about 6 months, maybe a year if you're lucky. Now, I'm by nature a very bubbly guy. Just joking, I'm not, but let's just say. I'm a happy-go-lucky sort of a fellow. I'm very social, very communal. But pain does something very traumatic to you. Pain takes you and forces you to go inward. And you ask a lot of whys. And the self-hatred begins. That I should have known better. I should have gone to the doctor sooner. And you begin to fight yourself, you begin to fight your parents, you begin to fight everybody. And if you happen to be religious, you begin to fight God. And why is this happening to me? I want to know why it's happening to me. And every time you go to the doctor, you ask, I eat vegetables all the time. I don't eat meat, no milk, no this, no that. This should not be happening to me. So you behave very much like Job in the Old Testament. You demand justice. And it's because you've forgotten that there is no justice in life. Life just shits on you. That's what life does. Right? And so in the midst of pain, there are these moments where you call up your friend, Alexis, and you say, I'm sick. And then she begins to cry. And then you find some comfort in that friendship for about 10 minutes before she says, I have to go to work. Can I call you back? Yeah. You're also angry at her now. I'm telling her she's dying, and she says, I need to go make some money. Right? There is this wonderful story about Soren Kierkegaard that this young kid is laying on his deathbed. He still has some time before he passes. His friends come, and he says, yes, I knew I'm not alone. My friends are here. And 10 minutes later, the friends say, well, we have to go. I have to do this and I have to do that. And this young kid says, man, I'm really, really alone. And then the parents come. When I had my open heart surgery a few months ago, I remember my father who's 90, my mom who's 80, they came. And it's tough at that age to drag your body from Roseville to San Francisco. And what can you do at that age? Nothing really. It's like Al Pacino at the age of 84 having a 2-year-old kid. What can you really do? Nothing. So you see the anguish on their faces, and you realize, well, your own mom had cancer a couple of months ago, and she has been taking some pills. Your father is not doing too well. I mean, all these people have their own issues, and yet they were kind enough to come to the hospital to look at you, to say, how you doing, hold your hand, maybe kiss you on the forehead. And then after a while, they leave. And Kierkegaard, the Danish philosopher, tells us this young man is laying flat on his deathbed and says, man, pain really makes you feel alone and makes you alone. And that's what pain does. And if you happen to be socialized relatively well, if you happen to be communal, let's say I go home, my wife asks, so Amir, how did the doctor visit go? Well, honey, listen, cancer stage 4. She cries, I cry, the kids cry, and we continue. But then there are these moments where you realize that you have talked about your sickness for a while. It did create some sort of a comfort for some time. And even though at gatherings you laugh and you have a good time, once in a while, for some strange reason, cancer comes up and says, Amir, why are you laughing? You know you're going to die. All the stuff you see here, you will never have access to them anymore. And so you realize that what pain does, whatever kind of pain it is, it may be physical pain, like she was sick. It may be you had a boyfriend and you guys broke up, now you're emotionally sick. It may be that you're physically sick, emotionally sick, and now you want to figure out what the hell to do with your physical sickness, what to do with your emotional sickness caused by this rupture in your relationship. And your Messiah, the intellect, comes down to figure out if there are any paths you can take to heal or remedy the situation, only to realize this situation is beyond remedy. So intellectually now you're paralyzed. So you're paralyzed physically, you're paralyzed emotionally, you're paralyzed intellectually. And by this time you have no soul inside you. You fall into depression. And I guess the point I'm trying to make in trying to overcome loneliness, if possible at all, is that there are these stages where amidst of intense pain, whatever the cause may be, you're going to get this plunge into this hole where no one can accompany you. You can't have no visitors. And even if they knock on the door and say, I know you're sick, I know you're alone, I know you're in the dark, I just want to come and sit with you for 10 minutes. You say, I've been there, I've done that, I just want to be left alone. I'm not looking for a quickie. And you realize all of a sudden that even if 10 months ago or 10 days ago, 10 weeks ago, it would provide you some comfort to talk to Alexis for 10 minutes about your sorrow, you don't need it anymore. You know, you realize the nature of your pain. You realize that all pain eventually pushes you into a corner where you can't have no company. You're all alone, and you need to survive that. Once in a while, you do come out, and you act like a socialite. Hello, how are you doing? You put this thin facade on your face where you laugh. Okay. I remember the last time I saw my own teacher in a social gathering. He came to my sister's house. And we, like before, we talked religion, we talked politics, even though he was carrying this medicine pool, that things were dripping inside his system. And he was in a great amount of pain, but he mustered up the courage and the stamina to sit and talk to us about religion and politics for like 5 hours. Okay. I'll give you a poem in Persian, and it's one of those poems that was written by Rumi. They say it's his last poem. I don't know. For those of you who may not know, Rumi is a Persian poet. At the age of 40, he ran into his teacher. He abandoned his wife, his life, his everything, and he devoted himself to this guy. So his son goes to him and says, Dad, is there anything I can do for you? And this is his poem. And I'll give you a few lines in Persian. رو سر بنه به بالین تنها مرا رها کن ترک من خراب شبگرد مبتلا کن ماییم و موج سودا شب تا به روز تنها خواهی بیا ببخشا خواهی برو جفا کن از من گریز تا تو هم در بلا نیفتی بگزین ره سلامت ترک ره بلا کن. That his son comes to him and says, is there anything I can do for you? He says, I have been with this pain for a long, long time. It is my most faithful companion. You can't do anything. You may want to reach me because you're my son and you love me and you care for me, but the truth is, this pain will not allow access to anyone. So go rest. Hello. It'll just be me and my pain. Ma'im moj soda. Moj means these like waves. They are horrendous. They're big, they're powerful. Soda means chaos. And that's what pain does when it becomes really, really intense. When you're looking for a remedy, but there is no remedy to be found, there are no resources, you have no power, you have no control. For the first time in your life, you have become a lamb to this lion called pain. Shab ta be roz tanha. Shab means night, roz means daytime. But when you're in pain, there is no sun. It's always dark. Because death is pushing its face through all the facades and keep reminding you, don't think it's sunny. Don't think there is fun. And I'm not talking about a point of acceptance where you've gone through so much in your life. You've tried to wrestle with life only to realize life is like Mike Tyson. You're not going to beat Mike Tyson, okay? And there comes a point where you say, you know what? In thy hands I give myself. Life is far too big. I am far too sick. I don't have the sufficient resources. Whatever you want to do to me, do to me. It's okay. Okay. That's a much later stage in life. Okay. And so, that I've lived with this pain for such a long time. I try to overcome it. Not possible. I've only come to realize that pain ultimately pushes you into this extreme sense of aloneness, loneliness, isolation, maybe even depression. If you can express your depression through painting, through music, through dancing, through having sex with your boyfriend, more power to you. Okay. The more evolved you are, the more refined your expression of depression and loneliness and certain realities of life. And so he says, it doesn't matter whether it's night or day, I'm always going to be alone. So in as much as you want to help me, go away. Just let me be with this pain. I'm far more intimate with this pain than I am with you. I know it doesn't do much. با درد بساز چون دوای تو منم با کس منشین که آشنای تو منم گر کشته شدی مگو که من کشته شدم شکرانه بده که خونبهای تو منم. If you consider the philosophy of Buddhism, life is suffering. If you consider the philosophy of Christianity, don't store your treasures in a place that can be stolen by thieves. And life is a thief. Life steals your youth, life steals your time, life steals your energy, life steals the people you love. As Freud would say, love will eventually steal your health. Life is a thief. So whatever investment you have, make sure it's not invested in life because life will demolish them. I mean, look at what happened in 2008. All these good people having jobs, having great relationships, having houses they had invested in, people behind closed doors because they're greedy, lustful, vicious animals. What happens? The housing market crashes. Recession enters. Everything goes down to shit. And what happens to people? They lose their homes, divorce, depression, loneliness, suicide, everything becomes a mess. And that is what life does. And so this poem suggests if you understand life really, 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 really well, really, really well, know that your most faithful companion is pain, is struggle, is strife, is suffering. And instead of escaping from it, why not become friends with it? Understand it. This class will end, I will leave you. My father is 90, he will leave me. And every time something leaves you, what they leave behind is the pain, the memory. That's the only thing that's going to stay. And so the poem is, if pain is something that you can never get rid of until your last breath, well, get to know it well. And in getting to know pain well, there is your Messiah. You know, you've been in relationships, Kendra, and so have I. The loneliest moment you will ever feel in your life is when you are with someone. When you look into their face and you realize you have nothing in common. And yet you have no choice but to be there. And you want to leave, but you can't because of responsibilities and obligations. Do you have any questions? It could be anything from coffee to salad to life. Or you don't have to. If there are no questions, there are no questions. Maybe you just want to sit back and listen. No. Yeah, you can give it to me next semester. Alexis? Anything? Tracy?
I have so many, but they are probably beyond the scope of
Well, just.
what we're focusing on.
Well, you can just throw one out.
Well, first I want to say thank you for that story that you just shared. It reminded me of watching my father with a 17-year battle with cancer. And towards the end, he really dedicated everybody, did everything, he had nothing nice to say, they were all this, they were all that. I mean, it was really hard to watch.
Yeah.
Because you had never seen a strong man who was open to life and everybody just go down so hard in the last year, and it was a few times my brother's paramedic had come up in his uniform on just because he was coming home from work. My dad sort of resembled him.
Yeah.
Some of the things that he witnessed and saw were just so profound.
Yeah.
And then in my recovery, I reached a point, this was before I even got my diagnosis, I had reached a point where I was just done. And I will just say by the grace of some power that I obviously, my time here is not up yet. Because I tested it to a point, I should not have anyway. And within a year, I had the early diagnosis of breast cancer. And I was like, seriously? And it turns out it was a rare form, 98% chance it will never return, so I'm very blessed on that. And so I wonder if there reaches a point where you have been through so much hardship and pain, and you understand the suffering physically, emotionally, intellectually, and now it's more of like a spiritual pain of which way do you go? Like my shirt says, choose happy. I just think that there's a place that people can reach, and whether it's a facade or not, it's a nice place to be where you can let you kind of put some of those thoughts around. It doesn't run from the pain, but at the same time balance your scales with it. And I just don't know if that's like it's with the stars, or if it's kind of taking everything together and creating a new life and a new way the best I can with what I have left. That wasn't really a question. There's so much in there that are questions within the words, you know?
Imagine you have a huge backyard, and once in a while you stand on the deck, you look down and you say, this would be a nice garden. And you begin to fantasize. And then as you get in the car to go to Home Depot and buy some plants, you realize you have no money. You have a nice set of dreams that exist way in the future, but for those dreams to turn into reality, you need funds, you need money. And you're not the sort of person who would want to go to Home Depot and steal. You're not like me. You know? And so you realize you have these dreams that they're never going to be realized, at least not in the foreseeable future. And so every time you go stand on the deck, you look down, there's a good amount of joy because you have dreams. There's also a good amount of sadness because those dreams, they're not going to come true. Some people have a good amount of pain in their life. They will never get a chance to process them well. So it stays inside them like a lump inside their throats. And it suffocates them. Some people do have a lot of, say, negative experiences, but they also have the ability to process them. But they will never have the ability to express them in a way that they can be satisfied. Some are very lucky in the sense that they have difficulties, they're processed, they can be expressed. The tragedy is there is no one out there to hold or to listen or to receive what they're giving. Some people are very, 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 very lucky that they have experiences that are negative, creates a lot of pain. Over time, they're processed well. And then they also find a community or a space where they're expressed and they are received. Sometimes you don't need another human being or a group of human beings to receive your whatever it is that you've gone through. Sometimes you do it by writing, sometimes by being on the stage and playing music. One of the things that human beings do, forgive me for making it a little kinky, is that you fall in love with someone, and it's such an agonizing place to be, especially if they don't really know how you feel about them. And there is so much emotions about you that are the cause for your joy, an immense amount of sorrow, loneliness, and all that. You become a poet. And then eventually what happens is you tell this person that I really love you. And lo and behold, they say to you, I love you too. And then all these emotions explode. And the way they explode is in the bedroom. And they make sex, they make love. And this love has the body in it, it has the emotions in it, and it has the intellect in it. It's just full of wonderful things. So you happen to be someone very lucky where you've gone through some tragedies, you've processed those tragedies, and you want to talk about those tragedies because they were well processed. And for some strange reason, there are these people who are going or have gone through the stuff that you're going through or you've gone through, and they happen to be just at the right place in life to be able to sit, to hear, to listen to what you're saying. And as they're listening, they can hear some key words, and in hearing them, they can be inspired and hopefully transformed. Some people are not as lucky. I had a student 3-4 decades ago. She said, I have so much love. She was this young kid, 19. I don't mean there was an insult. This 19-year-old infantile kid. She said, I have so much love to give. And every time I give my love to someone, it comes back to bite me in behind. But she was always giving to the wrong people. Maria, anything? Maria? Aren't you Maria? Yeah. Anything? Not yet? Okay. You done? By the way, if you don't have any questions, I have any questions. Okay. Yeah. We'll wait. It's okay. Yeah, yeah.
I was with basically activity. So, okay. Let's say when somebody is partner, right?
So what?
Let's say there's somebody, right?
Dating someone?
Yeah. Let's say, I don't know. How do you put it like that? Do you feel like you're at all? Or you think that actually
So like you're going out with Kendra, let's say if you're allergic to that, you're going out with Ken, and Ken looks at you and says, you know, you and I get along really, really well, but I think I want to take a break for like 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever. Yeah, they don't like you. Okay. Yeah, they don't like you. If a man says that to you, walk away. If a woman says that, run away. Look, sometimes there are these wrinkles in a relationship, and taking some time away would be beneficial. This day and age, it also depends on your age. You know, if you've been married for like 10, 15, 20 years, you've been in a relationship for 5, 6 years, and you say, I want to take some time away. I mean, it's a time where you want to reevaluate who you are, what you are, the relationship, all of that. If on the other hand, you're like 19, 20, 10, you know, and your boyfriend is like 5, and he looks at you and says, I think I want to like walk away and just think about what I'm doing. I mean, first of all, you're far too young to be in relationships, and even if you are, just go have fun. Don't fantasize about marrying or long-term relationships. You just don't have the resources. You know? Yeah. I mean, if you got $10 in your pocket, don't go to a fancy restaurant. You know, long-term relationships are like fancy things. They're complicated. You have to wait for hours for the food to come to the table. Just go to In-N-Out. You go in, you come out, finished. Practice.
I find it a bit frustrating already that it seems like we can play the options to maybe acceptable, like maybe like
So, can we make it a bit more personal? Is that okay?
yes, this way.
So there are a few things to consider. First, our main occupation in life is about power and control. If you don't have power, you don't have control. If you don't have control, you can't plan your day the right way. Okay? In other words, if you're short on money, the end of the month is in a few days. If you want a peace of mind, you need to make sure you have $2,000 to give to your landlord. Okay? If you don't have that power, you don't have control over your future. Is that going to cause you some distress? Absolutely. Are you going to be frightened of being evicted? Definitely. Will you be feeling guilty or even embarrassed or ashamed going to your parents, stretching your hand, saying, give me $10? Yeah. Is it going to wound or put a dent in your pride, self-confidence? Definitely. Okay? So, the first thing you need to understand, any situation you're in or want to go in, power gives you control. If you don't have power, you don't have control. Okay? Our class will end next week. We'll have our last meeting. You want to control your future, let's just say. It's not about you, I'm just saying, speaking in general. You want to control your future. In other words, you want to graduate, go to a bigger, better school. Look at your grades for this class, or any class, if you want to see how much control you have over your future. First assignment, 0. Second assignment, 0. Third assignment, 0. What you have is a future, but it lives in the unknown. You have no power. You had power the moment you signed up for this class. You had power to come to class. You had power to do the assignments, but you relinquished all that power. Now that you have no funds, what is waiting for you is poverty. That you signed up for a class, you paid for a class, you paid for the books, you even showed up to class a few times, but you didn't do any work. Okay? And when the F comes your way, how's that going to make you feel? Like shit. If you care, at least. If you have no care for it, forget that. Okay? So the first thing you need to understand is, without power, you can't survive life. Now, sometimes power comes in the form of self-deception. The hippies. Like 19-year-old punks. Especially from this culture. Who don't know anything from anything. They're illiterate, uneducated, they don't think, they don't process things well. They just go out there like they're emotional junkies. They just want to experience things. And they end up nowhere. So, whenever there is a disturbance inside any life, what you do is you try to say, okay, do I have the power to control this? That depends on the pain you're suffering from, the intensity, okay, and your resources. If I have a headache, well, that's going to keep me from writing. That's going to keep me from attending class. So what will I do? I'll go to my office, open the door or cabinet, get some aspirins, okay, swallow them, and I'll be fine. If I have a brain tumor, I will have the illusion that I have power. Then I realize little by little I don't. I check out doctors. Each doctor will give me a glimmer of hope. When I ask for a second opinion, the hope goes away and turns into hopelessness. When time passes and tumor grows bigger and bigger and bigger, it's finished. Now, there are two things. There is you, 19, there is me, 60. As you age, as you gain more experiences, as you go through life, as you become more seasoned, there are less things that are interesting out there. And because there are less things interesting, your ambitions slowly begin to dim. We don't have as many hopes, as many dreams, as many pleasures. There are only a few things we enjoy in life. Okay? So in some ways, if I was 19, looking at a 19-year-old young woman, I'd be inspired. I want to get her number. At my age, if someone looks at me, I want to look the other way. I don't want to be looked at. I don't have the time for it. I have the energy for it. I just don't give a shit. Okay. You being 19, let's just say a generic you haven't yet lived your life. There are lots of things you want to do. You want to finish school. You want to buy a car. You want to get married. You want to have children. You want to take care of your parents. There are 1,001 things you want to do. Okay? So your little body and your little brain possesses 1,001 different hopes and dreams that you want to realize. My old and fragile body has 5. And it's taken me a long time to say, you know what? It's okay. 5 is not bad. And as I get a little older, it'll be like 2. And then 1. And then I'll have no hope or anything. Okay. You is very different. Whenever you have any hopes and dreams that you want to bring to life, what you do is you make plans. In other words, you create a GPS. If I go through this route, take this path, I'll get there. Okay. sometimes the plans don't work out. Whenever you have a plan, whatever it may be, from here to the fridge, from here to the bedroom, okay, whatever your plan may be, it means that you're here, you don't have, you want to go there because you want to have. That's purpose. That's ambition. That's pleasure. That's desire. That's you out there in the future. Whenever something obstacles you, you get frustrated. And what do you do when you're frustrated? You try to find ways to overcome the frustration. Okay? If, for example, you stand up to go to the fridge and your knee aches, well, you stretch it out a little and then you go. If you have arthritis, the story is very, very different. So you say, Johnny, can you get me some water? Okay. It's very, very natural as human beings to make plans. It's very natural to become irritated, agitated, aggravated, frustrated when the plans don't work out. It's also very normal for you to become profoundly angry, to look for ways to get what you want. There are times when you try, and you try, and you try, and you can't get what you want. Anger is natural. It's very healthy. Very healthy. Do you have children? Once you have them, if you ever decide to have them, one of the kids you'll understand about kids, especially when they're very, very young, they will do whatever they can to win a game. It doesn't matter what the game is. And you gotta sit back and say, really? I mean, this kid is like 2 years old. He cheats all the time. What the fuck is his problem? You keep telling him, can you please just play the game? Don't cheat. 10 minutes, please. No. Is it because of Donald Trump? No. Is it because he's been infected by capitalism? No. That's what we do as human beings. There is something beautiful about winning. You want to be healthy. You want to win. You want to win over sickness. So, it takes you a long time to come to realize that you have no power over this. I mean, if I was to get to a stage for cancer, I look myself in the mirror and say, Amir, you're 60, but you're like 20. I'm going to deny the reality of my age. I'm going to deny the reality of I have no power over cancer. I will self-deceive. I will put my head in sand, in darkness. I will create all these ridiculous narratives. That's what we do, and it's normal and it's healthy. Until you realize there are certain things in life you can no longer deny. I am your boyfriend. I am leaving you. I don't give a shit who you are, what you are. I am leaving you for my dog. Okay? Now, for the past 2, 3, 4, 5 months, you may have stayed home saying, no, Amir will come back. I'm going to make the most delicious food. And maybe I will capture him with food, and with sex, and with TV, and with this, with that. Should I stop? And then once you realize that there is no denying that I'm going to leave, you'll become very, very angry for a couple of reasons. You love me. I don't love you as much. You've invested 3 years of your life with me. That history doesn't mean anything to me anymore. You're angry because you didn't listen to your mom, because when your mom saw me, she told you, Alexis, Amir is a scumbag. When you say, what the hell was wrong with me? I love my mom. She would never hurt me. She would never be the cause of my pain. I should have listened. You're angry because you wasted youth, you wasted time. Who knows, maybe we have a kid together. Over. Okay? So remember, first you deny. Then you realize there's no denying. This relationship is going sour. Then you become angry. You can only live with anger for so long, and you can only live with your pride for so long. Then you pick up your cell phone and you call me. Amir, how are you? What do you want? I thought maybe we could go to Pete's and talk a little. Why? I just need to talk to you, man. I miss you. And now you make me feel guilty. I mean, I won't feel guilty, but let's just say you do. And so we meet at the coffee shop. I said, please, let's go home. We can make this work. I said, Alexis, I'm in love with Tracy. I said, what? We were together for 10 years. How so quickly you got over me? Did it not mean anything to you? Well, you meant something then, but not now. And you get to a place where you say, get rid of Tracy. You know, I'll do whatever you say. I'll be the person that you want me to be. And you get to a place of compromise where you try to bargain. You know, I'll give you 10, you give me 1. I'll give you 20, you give me 5. You know, it's like you're sick, you lay in bed and you say, God, if you just take care of this, if cancer leaves me, I'll be the kindest daughter to my parents, or I'll be the kindest wife to my husband, or mother to my kids, or just a decent person, you know. But there is no return call. I never pick up the phone. The bargaining goes nowhere. And then you get really, really depressed. And let's say you're like me, you have no creative talents. You're way down in the pits and it's dark and it sucks. You pass the stage of denial, you pass the stage of anger, you pass the stage of the bargaining, and now you just sit there and you're sad and well, life sucks, you don't see any future. There are moments you grab the razor blade and you want to end it, you know, all that stuff. And remember, all these 3-4 elements I've mentioned, they have their own timetable. I don't know how long it'll take you to stop denying. I don't know how long it'll take you to stop being angry all the time. I don't know how long it's going to stop. You're going to stop calling me. None of us know. It's just a shot in the dark. Then after 2-3 months of locking yourself in your room and making sure no light ever comes on and the blinds are always shut and you've lost like 50 pounds, you wake up one morning and you say, I'm Alexis. I'm young. I'm beautiful. You know what? I'm going to wash the dishes. I'm going to vacuum the house. I'm going to open the blinds, go to Home Depot, buy some plants. I'm going to go for a walk. Fuck, man. Just going to go have fun. And that's your acceptance. You accept your life in whatever shape or form. You accept it. But you have to have gone through all these tiny little battles or big battles with Mike Tyson. The Mike Tyson who beats you up because you keep denying. The Mike Tyson who beats you up because you're always angry. The Mike Tyson who beats you up because you want to bargain with something that's not worth bargaining with. You know, and the Mike Tyson of depression. And some people never have a breakthrough. For some people, the sun never comes. You know, so acceptance comes only after you've paid your dues. Now, there are some things in life you should never, ever, ever accept. In other words, your parents never went to college. Your siblings never went to college. Just going to college is not part of your family heritage. You're not intellectually educated like that. You've not been exposed with that sort of advertisement. You come to school, say, well, this sucks. This is boring. I don't want to come here. I want to be like my mom or like my dad or my like sister. And instead of accepting your family customs, you say, you know what? I really don't like what my mom does, and I don't like what my dad does. There's lots of money to be made out there. There are lots of things to be done out there. I want to do those things, and for that to happen, I need money. For that to happen, I need to go to school. And then all of a sudden you realize you're not going to accept the history created for you by your parents, by your culture. You drag yourself and you fight against that history. And that in itself is a good struggle, good fight to have. And then before you know it, because you didn't accept, now you have your master's, now you have your PhD. Now you go to interviews and you go there, now you have power. If you go to Home Depot, they're going to ask you, well, do you have any experience with 2x4s and nails? You say, yeah, I have a thumbtack in the office or at my house. Well, good, you're hired. $20 an hour. What is that going to do for you? You struggle for 5, 6, 7, 9, 10 years. You go to school, you get a degree. Now you walk into the world with a lot of power. Now you can make the world a world that you enjoy. So some things are beyond your power, and ultimately you're forced to accept. Some things you're manipulated into accepting, and you shouldn't. But again, if you want to go back to the original question, acceptance, it usually takes a while. Be patient. 20 years. It's nothing. Blink of an eye.
Acceptance.
Yeah. You know Betty Davis? She was an actor. She had this wonderful saying, she would say it all the time. Old age is not for sissies. If we were to say it in a different way, life is not for sissies. Life is complex, lots of moving parts, and it's always changing and it's always unpredictable.
My father used to say that life isn't for the faint of heart.
Yeah.
For the weak. But he gets up with his walker. Was a very happy man for the most part. At least that's what he was to all of us. That's what happened with Pearl Harbor, World War II, and the Great Depression.
That's a lot of stuff. Anyone else before we go home? Yeah.
Just like where I stories that they talked. Since like you just have
Children?
like at some point of your life, at some state, specific state of your life, people really will have that moment, must have that moment.
Well, first of all, it's rare for kids to be planned. And if they are planned, those plans usually take place in like La La Land, the world of fantasy. Children are nothing but the cause of two people having sex, for the most part. They are the cause of a moment of inspiration between two people who like each other or love each other, and they assume that this tiny little moment will make them great parents. Having children is not rational. What you have inside you is this tremendous sexual power that's either put inside you either by God or by nature, and it's there for one reason. Every living organism tries to protect its own race. Human beings have been blessed or cursed with this enormous sexual power that once in a while erupts. You go out there and you have children. Not because you love kids and not because you're a great father or a great mother. That's the way human beings continue to survive. Okay? So that's number one. You are the product of sex. Not rationality, okay? Just passion. What happens the moment two people have sex and all of a sudden one gets pregnant, hopefully it's the woman, and the kid comes out, then what happens is, one of the things that you need to also understand is, at a certain point in the woman's psychological maturity, at a certain point, a woman says, now the woman may have had an awful childhood, okay? But at a certain point she says, you know, I don't know why, it came from nowhere. I want a kid. I want my body to like grow something. It happens around maybe 27, 28, and it becomes really, really powerful. Up to, just before 40, if you haven't had any kids. It's just lingering in the background. I want kids. And there's a good amount of envy by then, because you've done with school, you have a career now, and you go somewhere and there are kids there are parents with people with kids, and fantasies begin to happen. It's no different than like when you see a Tesla and you say, well, I wonder how it feels to drive a Tesla. And then you save some money and you buy a Tesla. And you go out there and say, well, I wonder how it feels to be a mom. Well, you go out there, you fuck someone, there's a mom, right? So a good amount of life takes place within the realm of theories. I'll be a great dad, I'll be a great mom. Sex civilizes a man. In other words, you as a woman, if you want that man to hang around you, if you want him to be around, you have sex in hopes of having a child, and hopefully this man, who just likes to go around, doesn't like stability of sorts, all of a sudden, the moment you say, I'm pregnant, he says, oh shit, I'm going to be a father. And if he has any decency or maturity to him, okay, relatively a healthy background, he says, you know what? I didn't have a father. It sucked not having a father. I'm going to be around for this kid. And all of a sudden, this guy will stop smoking, drinking, and doing all sorts of awful things. Okay? Now he'll be a devoted father. For how long? Who the hell knows? When the kid comes out, what usually happens is you make all these plans. He's not going to be like me, and he's not going to be like that guy who claims to be his father. He's going to be much better. You're going to send him to school. He's never going to be around smoke. He's never going to be around alcohol. He's never going to be around porn. Bad language will never be around him. If you live in a crummy neighborhood, you're going to move. That's what you think about. You're always going to think about the best things that you're going to offer this kid. What you don't really know is one of the things that kids do, they keep pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing and demanding. And they will always push you towards the unknown. They always push you towards the realm of frustration, irritation, anger. For the first time you realize the 6-month-old baby has more power than you do and you will ever have in your life. Okay? You will have emotions about this relationship that you've never had in your life and you don't know what to do with. And you will say the kid will never listen. And it becomes more and more frustrating as the kid ages, especially in this culture, right? So, and then you do your best. And then you realize your best wasn't enough. And very much like our conversation, you simply accept all of your shortcomings. You accept the fact that kids eventually have to go out there, experiment with life, get bullied by life, slapped by life, beaten up by life. Then they come home, bloody mess. And then you say, Dad, you were right. Is there anything I can do? You say, yeah, okay, just bring your stuff in. Just stay with us for a few weeks or a few years until you figure out who you are. And if you need to go to school, we'll help you and all that. But having children is not a rational thing. And rational people, and by that I mean You look at life, you look at all the struggles that people have to make, you look at the importance of money, the importance of culture, the world of advertisement, education. You have to look at 1,001 things. And you say, well, should I know I want children, but is it right? I mean, you have to go through a whole host of things to come to a decent conclusion that, you know what, you really don't want to harm anybody, especially a thing that comes out of you. You'd rather just live with the dream as opposed to the reality. Now, let me also add this. There are lots of people who come from very, very dysfunctional backgrounds who have beautiful lives and they make wonderful social, political, and artistic impact or benefit to society. Without them, we'll be much more poor. You know, I mean, consider if I had the young Malcolm X in my class. He doesn't do any work. You know, he ends up in prison. Imagine if he had killed someone. And if this was Texas, we would probably execute him. Right? But turns out that Malcolm just did some tiny things. He was open to some possibilities. His ears had the power to hear and listen and change, and he did. This guy is a prophet, no less than Jesus. You know. So sometimes you can just live with the hope that, you know, I don't really know what I'm doing with this kid. I'll do my best. You know, and the kid also, your child will also inspire you to leave Oakland, to go to a place where crime is not as much, you know, homelessness is not as much, because you don't want your kid to be infected or contaminated. So sometimes the presence of a child that is caused by an act of sex can save you. There are lots of benefits, lots of harms. Almost in everything under the sun, you can find countless number of positives and many numbers of negatives. Don't listen. You know, there are some very, very nice men out there. Just find a nice man, you know, have a sort of life that will baptize certain parts of yourself that you don't like and make the best of it. Children, yuck. Alexis? You sure? Kendra? What time is it?